is a public meeting that's held pursuant to our zoning and development bylaw, and it's in relation to an application received by Falcon Homes Limited. And it is on application number RZ002-25. Falcon Homes is requesting a bylaw amendment to rezone PID 108-5976, which is located in Ducks Landing, from the low-density residential R1 zone to the town center residential TCR zone. Pursuant to our processes, excuse me, this does require a notification to affected residents in a certain radius, and I presume that's why some of you are here tonight. And it's to give the applicants an opportunity to provide an overview of what they are proposing and the rationale for their proposals. We want to thank you all for attending here in person, as well as those who might be joining us online. I'll just indicate to everybody that if you wish to comment formally on anything from tonight's meeting, the town will accept written responses provided directly to the planning department by email or in writing until 12 p.m. to this Friday, June 27th, 2025. I'll just indicate the comments provided on any social media platform are not captured as part of that written submission process. After the application has been presented here tonight, there will be an open floor for any questions or comments on the application. Questions are going to be monitored as well via social media, and they'll be submitted to be read into the record and answered. If you are listening online, I'll just ask to ask a question. Please use the comment field on either YouTube or Facebook where you're viewing the live stream. I'll indicate that as this is a public meeting, you are required to provide your name and address when asking a question. Now, before I turn the microphone over to the representatives of Falcon Homes, I just want to make a general statement about meeting decorum. I ask that everyone here this evening be respectful of one another and be patient and allow each other time to speak and respond. To keep this meeting moving in a smooth and orderly fashion, the following practices and customs are going to be observed. Comments and presentations should focus on the nature of the merits of the likely consequences of the proposed application and must avoid the personalities or motives of the applicant. Comments should be focused on the application on hand, not on any prior dealings or applications or grudges or opinions you might have of anybody present here this evening. All comments and questions are made to me, myself as chair, who will then decide who is responsible for answering the questions. There shall be no direct debate between members attending this meeting. Members attending this meeting should refrain from disturbing the assembly when presentations are being made or questions are being discussed. And I'll indicate that any questions or presentations are limited to 5 minutes for individuals and 10 minutes for groups. Now, if you do require any additional time, certainly I as chair will make that determination. So at this time, we have Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Zafaris here from Falcon Homes. I will turn it over to them so they can provide you with their presentation on the merits and why they're seeking to have this property rezoned from the R1 zone to the TCR zone. Gentlemen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris McMillan, and I'm a business partner with Will Zafaris. Won't be too long, be short and sweet. Our company, Falcon Homes, has been in construction and development since 2020. In that time, we've built, give or take 75 houses, semi-detached townhouses, including some builds in Stratford. We built a commercial building in the Stratford Business Park as well. Our proposed project is a 6-unit stacked townhouse, 3 units wide by 2 units high. The building footprint is 3,000 square feet roughly, and obviously its location is in Ducks Landing. The area, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's a high density street with give or take 20 apartment buildings. We figure roughly around 500 doors are on the street. Primarily, the street is zoned TCR presently. There's a bus route. It actually stops at the corner of Ducks Landing and Squire. It's very close to parks, recreational facilities, a kilometer within the future community campus. That's just an image of the overview. The proposed site would be the next one there. The proposed site has been vacant since 2010. Proximity to a bus stop. type of missing middle housing appropriate to transition from apartments to single detached housing. What that means essentially is it's kind of a nice transition from apartment building to R1 residential instead of just going from a big apartment building right into residential housing. That would be the proposed footprint of the building. So yeah, again, the building is, it's 6-unit stacked townhouse. It will conform to all bylaws, density, setbacks, parking, aesthetics, building materials, etc. The building will be made up of 6 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom units, all independent ground level entrances, so they all enter from the ground. 3 go up, 3 go down. All in the ground level units will be designed as barrier-free / accessible units. Our goal would be to, if not fill the whole building with senior living, at the very least, potentially those bottom level ones. Our goal is to have it designed to our 2000 energy rating. The next slide this is essentially what our building will look like. That's a 4-unit, but ours will just have essentially another stack added to the side of it. Key design elements. So setbacks to the neighboring single detached house is at 8 feet, the R1 minimum. Proposing a landscape buffer along the right side yard setback to further minimize impact on neighbors and enhance overall property. So if you're standing on Ducks and you're looking at the lot, our plan is to have, whether it be trees or shrubs, or we want to work with the neighboring properties to try and at least enhance the sides and make it, you know, a little more enjoyable for everybody involved. The left side yard setback is shown as 5 feet, allowing room for adequate drainage. The rear decks, we're making them inverted, so there'll be a roof overhanging the decks, and there'll be sides of the building on both sides of the deck, so it kind of is designed to give privacy to our tenants, but also the neighboring properties. The TCR zone limits building height for a stacked townhouse to 35 feet. It's actually 1 less foot than the limits for a single dwelling in the R1 zone. Important notes, the project is in line with Shape Stratford growth management strategies. Appropriate areas with minimal impact on existing infrastructure. Similar projects have been supported and approved in the town. The other last note would be the lot is too small for a traditional apartment style building without obtaining major variances, which obviously we're not part of this application and it's not part of our plans. So that's our proposal, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. McMillan. I might get you to just stay there if that's okay, sir.
Sure.
Just in case we have some questions for you.
Sure.
Although, you know, you can decide between yourself and your partner here who might field what. So at this point in time, that is the presentation from Falcon Homes on behalf of their representatives, and I think everyone here understands that the request is for a 6-unit stacked townhouse development. So at this point in time, I would open the floor for those who wish to ask questions. If you have a question, then I'll decide who fields that. It might be, in fact, Ms. Kennedy or Mr. McKeegan who might be more appropriate to field that if it's a technical planning question. If it's something about the design or the intentions and the surrounding neighborhood, then it might be best answered by Falcon Homes. If it's simply a comment, that's fine too. So at this time, I'll certainly open the floor to those assembled here. Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes?
Will the microphone?
Yes?
Hello. Gordy
name.
Cox,
There you go.
102 Greensview Drive, Stratford, Ward 1. I'm also the counselor, one of the two counselors for Ward 1. Just a couple quick things. Just wondering if you can just, most people probably know this, but just go over what TCR means, just the basics of how it's different from, you know, from what you're changing, right? Just to know exactly what does those terms mean, right?
Okay.
And second, what is your plan, like, as far as like trees or shrubberies, whatever, to put on these properties? Is that part of your overall development for that too, I guess?
It is, yeah. I mean, that's something that we want to work with the neighboring properties, come together and come up with, you know, a solution that might appease the neighboring properties to, we don't have a plan currently, but we do have intentions to do so.
Okay, so Councillor Cox, just with respect to your first part of your question,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to direct that to either Ms. Kennedy or Mr.
Okay.
Keegan, whoever wishes to field that. Just,
Yeah.
it's not a bad question, just if you want some information on what TCR means.
Yeah, like I know what it is, but I just want to make sure everybody
Sure.
in the room
I know you know.
fully
It's-
understands that, so. Can I say one, okay, I'll wait. Tell me, you guys go ahead first, and I'll finish my last.
Okay, so the TCR zone, it stands for Town Center Residential Zone. It is one of the higher density zones in the bylaw, and it was designed to be a part of the town center core area. A lot of the permitted uses in it are sort of higher density residential, so apartment buildings, stacked townhouses, and there's a set of design standards that's appended to the back of the bylaw, and that kind of dictates parts of the design of the building, and some landscaping requirements as well. And yeah, so that's what the town center residential zone is. So this proposal proposes to encompass one of the R1 lots, to adjoin it to the adjacent town center residential zone.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Rick Schneider, 119 Squire Lane. I've got one specific question about that plan. It's different from the plan that we were sent. The balcony on the top right was in the corner, the one we were sent, and there it's not. So which is correct?
Yeah, well, we made change to go to that, just to,
Right.
again, to kind of make it a little more private for everybody involved.
Right. Okay. I have other questions as well, but that was specific.
You're up there, sir. You may as well, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's okay.
they're not actually questions, they're comments.
That's fine.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's totally fine.
Obviously, I'm strongly against this proposal for a number of reasons. I feel that the developers had said that it was a nice transition, the missing middle. But it's not the transition when we purchased our house 10 years ago that we thought was going to happen. There doesn't have to be a missing middle. On Ducks Landing at the moment, there are apartments all the way up to that point, and then it goes to single residential houses like Don's house directly opposite. There's no need to have a large apartment blocks, then a middle, then a single. It should be going from large apartment blocks to single. This kind of nice, there doesn't have to be a transition with a six apartments together. Also, the lot, one of the things that was said was the lot's too small. There was a slide, it was one of the last slides, this one. No, maybe the next one. Yeah, at the bottom statement, the lot is too small for traditional apartment style building without major variances. In my opinion, the lot is too small, full stop, period. It should be a single unit dwelling or a duplex at most. And I think I'm not the only person that feels that way. The lot was not designed to be part of the town centre core area. It was designed to be a single unit or duplex. So I'm obviously against.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hi there. Don Colligan, and I guess the place across the street is just, it's going to be too big
So sorry,
for the
just
resident.
before you go any further, sir, could you just state what your address is, just so we understand where you're at?
My address is 82 Ducks Landing,
Okay, thank you.
and where I'm living right now, the lot is right across. And they're just, for 6 units, there's no parking. And I don't think there will be enough parking on that building. They mentioned that they could probably park next door, but that place is always full, Bevans's. So there's one problem we got, is no parking. When I built 10 years ago, I understood that across the street was a single dwelling, the property. So I would not like to see that changed. And if you start rezoning properties now, when is it going to stop? Are you just going to keep rezoning or whatever? Like, I don't think it should happen. You know, and like I said, I don't want to see that. And parking is a big problem. And whether it's going to be from the unit across the street, but now they're parking on the street everywhere, up Ducks Landing. I don't know whether you drive up that way every once in a while or not, but yeah, and you drive around the neighborhood, Christ, these apartment buildings, there's no park, everybody's parking on the street. And but anyway, to come down to our street, Ducks Landing, I think the proposal, I hate to say no to it, but I think it should either be a single dwelling or at most a duplex. And, you know, like I say, everybody, and when it's across the street, I got enough people turning into my damn driveway now that I don't want to see more, which will it come to. So, really, my wife and I, Nancy, we are totally against this zoning.
Okay,
I guess that's all I can say.
thank you, sir. Appreciate that, yep. Anybody else? Yes.
It's Joe Schneider from 119 Squire Lane as well. Rick is my husband. I have comments echoing Don. The town of Stratford, where we have now lived in 10 years, having previously been in Mermaid for 10 years, which also saw change against our will and against our expectations, we feel that the town of Stratford had made a contract with its residents. And now, through a rezoning proposal, that contract will potentially be voided, which means that local residents in the Ducks Landing area and in the Squire Lane area in particular will have been let down, not only in terms of the contract being broken and trust having been lost in the town of Stratford and the representation that we deserve as residents of Stratford, but there will be financial implications. When we purchased our dwelling, we were under the impression that that lot of land was reserved for a single home unit. If we were to put our house on the market with the rezoning happening and people finding out about it, or building, construction having started already at the point when we want to sell, that will most likely reduce the house price that we might be looking at. We will be left with less than what we would have bargained for had that lot of land been reserved, as promised 10 years ago, as a single dwelling home. Second point, I echo Don regarding parking. If that is a 6-apartment unit, that means a minimum of 6 vehicles, potentially 12. potentially double that. Anyone who lives in Squire Lane and on the corner of Squire Lane and Ducks Landing in particular will have noticed the absolutely dramatic change in the neighbourhood, particularly going down Smallwood, where there has been a lot of recent development and where similar structures have gone up. There has been far too much of an increase of traffic, very, very dangerous driving, irresponsibility, people not respecting the law or the laws of Stratford anymore. So my concern is, and I think this is very valid in terms of safety in the neighbourhood, that 6 vehicles alone, not to mention 12 or more, will have catastrophic impacts on the safety of this neighbourhood. And if people are not willing to look into the future and see this potential impact, how it will impact the younger generation, never mind us, younger generation, children, I think we're lacking wisdom. My third point is to do with the location of the bus stop. It is wonderful that we now have a bus route in Stratford going through Ducks Landing and Squire Lane. My family has used the bus service a great deal. We are very grateful for it. The location of the bus stop, which of course could be moved, is actually very, very foolish in terms of where this new dwelling would be with all these cars coming and going. It is not a safe place. As Don also mentioned, there are a lot of people who are not from the neighbourhood using our drives for places where they can turn around. We have food deliveries, we have parcel deliveries, we have just people totally confused in the neighbourhood because they can't tell Squire Lane from Smallwood, they don't know Ducks Landing from Heron Drive, and they do not stick to the 40 kilometres per hour limit, which is too much in that particular horseshoe area anyway, for anybody's safety. So those are a few comments that I would like to pass on to the planning committee, rezoning teams, and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to ask a question or make a comment?
I'm Calvin McPherson, 115 Squire,
Yes, sir.
right along the side. I guess when the notice went up there, you know, you're thinking like, oh, they must be planning on putting a duplex, but you look at the plan and you're just like, I kind of laughed. I guess I got to be honest, 6 units. I think you guys had noted that the lot's been undeveloped since 2010, and that's for a reason, right? Because it's a poor single-family lot, let alone 6 units. It's unbelievable, honestly. But when my house was built, Donnie's house, and another house down the street, they're all built by the same developer who I know very well, to say the least. And the reason he owned that lot as well, and the reason why it went undeveloped is because he didn't think it was a great single-family lot. And now we're trying to put six-unit apartment building there. Like, it's just seems like a bit much, right? I guess, you know, we're talking about a transition. It doesn't really change. We're going from apartment building. Like, I just don't think that argument makes any sense. It doesn't change it. It makes it worse, if anything. You know, 12 cars minimum for a development like that these days. They'll be spilling out onto the street, not even a question. And I just, you know, where does it stop? Can I rezone my lot, put up 6 units there? I mean, maybe I do want this to go through. I'll put six unit up as well, right? So anyways, thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Ma'am,
Thank-
just
Sorry.
Just before we go around the horn again, I'll just want to make sure that everybody who might have, I'm not saying no, but I just want to make sure that anybody who has not spoken yet gets an opportunity to do so. Seeing nobody else though, come on up.
Thank you. So Joe Schneider from 119 Square Lane again. So these are my immediate neighbours. We have a wonderful neighbourhood. We have felt it has been a safe neighbourhood, which I remarked on earlier on. We are now fearing of losing. So I just want to put an additional comment across regarding what I mentioned about vehicles, and this was echoed by my next door neighbour. And I did refer already to Smallwood in particular and Kelly. I use, as does my husband, a somewhat jokey term about some of the buildings that have gone up in Smallwood, what they have turned into. We call them taxi ranks. We do not see family life. We do not see people, we don't see couples. We don't see elderly people. We see a lot of young people who are willing to share their dwelling with multiple other people. Are they residents who are legally there? We do not know. How many people are allowed to be in one residence? Because we see single individuals packed in one particular dwelling. Between them, they might have 8 vehicles. So this is one unit. Now multiply that by 6. We've already seen what happens when it's multiplied by 3. We have literally counted 24 vehicles outside a particular dwelling down Smallwood every single day. So, if you now transfer that same model onto the corner of Ducks Landing and Squire Lane, you are going to have the same phenomenon happening. I do not believe that we are going to get seniors moving into that dwelling. I do not believe we're going to get young families moving into that dwelling. Not even couples, I suspect. I have lived on the island for 20 years, by choice. I have been happy on the island. I chose Stratford when I moved from one community into the next. The changes that I have seen have crushed my faith in what is happening. I am 100% behind new buildings needing to go up. We need more housing. We have had a housing crisis on our hands for a long time. But at what cost and what types of housing and in what neighborhoods? Everybody says, oh, not in my backyard. But this is literally in our backyards, not just mine, but my neighbors, and it isn't what we were promised. We were quite prepared to accept a single unit building, a family home to go up. It could have been even semi-detached. But for it to turn into a 6-unit apartment building, that is simply unacceptable. And quite simply unbelievable in terms of the contract being broken, which is what I referred to when I first mentioned my points. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, folks, for those comments and questions. Certainly appreciated. It's always important for us to get as much input into these processes as we possibly can. I'll just check with our communications director to see if there's anything coming in online, who indicates, I believe, there is nothing. So I'll just indicate for people's information at this point in time, thank you very much, where we will go from here. So I just want to get the date. So I believe, yes, okay, so written comments will be received until 12 p.m. on Friday, June 27th. They can be submitted by email to skennedy@townofstratford.ca. That's Miss Sarah Kennedy seated to my right, or hand delivered to the Town Center Planning Department if it's in written format. Planning Board will meet for a discussion and make a recommendation to Council on Monday, June the 30th, 2025. Town Council will meet on Wednesday, July the 9th, 2025. This would be for a first reading. The process would be after that it would go back to planning, depending upon the nature of that vote, if it passes first reading or not. And then it might proceed to a second reading and adoption later on, likely in the tail end of summer. So just to give folks an idea of the timeline that might be involved in this application. So I want to thank everybody for their Yes, sir.
Sorry, so the number 3, once the decision is made, where will that be, where will we be able to see what the decision is?
It would, the best way to do it, if you're interested, you can certainly attend the Town Council meeting in person, should you wish. That'd be the most immediate way to find out. We always provide the next day a news release of the council's decisions, and that is almost always, I think, published on our town website, townofstratford.ca. Yeah, and you can also view the meeting via live stream. Yeah.
That was going to be my place.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah.
I just got one more question.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to try to put a 6-unit apartment in there, and as my neighbors all said, there's going to be at least 12 cars, 2 per family, which is a normal today.
So that's the question, is it? What
Yeah,
parking would look
basically,
like?
yeah.
Now, I might actually direct this to either Ms. Kennedy or Mr. McKeegan, because I cannot ever quite recall off the top of my head what the minimum parking standard is for stacked townhomes. I believe it's 1.5 lots per unit.
For a stacked townhouse, it's 1.5 parking spaces per unit, so 3 per stack. This site plan has enough room for 4 parking spaces per our bylaw at the dimensions, 3 in the main driveway, and then there's 1 in the offshoot. So it does meet the parking requirements for a stacked townhouse.
Okay, is the parking going to be in, right along Ducks Landing? Or is it going to be around the back or the sides? That I don't see.
What they've presented here, there's 1 parking space here, another one here, and here, and here. So the gray is the parking area.
Still don't think there's enough there.
So folks, we're kind of, okay, so I know, is there anything, you have your hand raised?
Yes.
Okay.
Understand. So there are.
Okay, we need to get your, if you are going to ask a question or provide a comment.
Just to clarify, sorry, it's Rick Schneider again, 119 Squire
Yeah.
Lane. So on the left-hand drive, and then there's a middle one and a right, there are 3 spaces in a row and a 4th one to the side, and that's for the lower level and the upper level, 4 cars for those 2 levels. Is that right?
Yes, usually that is how
Right.
it's functioning.
I
yeah.
don't understand how that's possible. How it's possible to park like that if each apartment has 2 cars. The person parked closest to the road has to move to let everyone else out. But what if they're not home? Or what if the combination of people? I don't understand how it's possible to have 4 cars owned by 2 different householders coordinated to come and go without having to park on Ducks Landing.
I think that's something that you guys could work out in the agreement, or even this portion of asphalt could be extended here, so then it's double wide.
Right.
So then it gives,
And then that's when the taxi rank appears, because 20 cars parked in the front yard, basically, or on the grass. And we haven't even considered the idea that even with 2 cars per apartment, these people will have visitors. And where are they going to park? Yeah.
So, okay.
I got another question. Okay. If I sell my house to a contractor, can he rezone that lot to put a 6-story building in it?
So right now, you could or theoretically, if a developer were to approach us with an application
Yeah.
for your specific lot, we would need to discuss how that might best work on the lot. So we want to not create what's called a spot zoning. And so your house directly abuts the 18-unit apartment next door. And so theoretically, yes, somebody could apply to kind of loop that in to the adjacent TCR zone. We'd have to look at kind of if you need to demolish or kind of rework the site in any way, but if it did kind of meet the intention of the bylaw, someone, yes, could apply to rezone an existing lot. Anybody has the right to submit an application. It doesn't mean it will be approved. That's when planning committee makes a recommendation based off of staff's recommendation, and then council evaluates all of the information we've provided and ultimately makes a decision.
Okay. As all we said here, we all understood that our lots were single dwellings, the same as the one across the street. So, I mean, if the town is going to do this to us, or all the neighbors, not just us, there's all the other people, it shouldn't be allowed to rezone after 8 years I've been there, and 10 years for these folks. And now you're gonna say, well, it's not gonna be a single dwelling. It should not be happening.
Yeah, rezonings happen frequently, so your lot itself could have been an agricultural field before it was there, right? So a rezoning is a necessary tool
Yeah.
that's built into planning legislation.
Yeah, like I lived down at the corner of Heron and Wren, and that was all farmland, every bit of this. But,
Just so it's understood, though, I wouldn't want anybody here present to think that council is any way, shape, or fashion had their minds made up. I do note some members of council present here, but we're not all here this evening, so this will be information that needs to be digested and carefully considered. And there are legal requirements that we will absolutely have to consider as well. But there can be no doubt, folks, that, you know, the public's input and residents' input into a rezoning is one consideration that we will absolutely pay attention to. I just do not want you, sir, to think for a moment that council is in any way, shape, or form already made up their mind about this. Okay, I just want, that's why we're here, right? We're
Okay,
here
yeah.
to hear from you.
Yeah.
This is not something that is a done deal, okay? There's a lot of things we have to consider in any rezoning application, but certainly, first and foremost, is the views of our residents. There's no doubt, okay?
okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you all sit down and really have a good talk about it, because, you know, it's things that, and like you guys, I know you just want to build, but, I mean, if you can put something small in there, duplex or something, but that's really just too much, guys. And council, thanks for listening to me, but.
That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, there's the mayor there.
yeah.
So what do you think, Steve?
Just here to listen.
How you doing, Steve? How you doing? Yeah. But anyway, that's,
No, that's why we're here to listen.
I just hope you make a good decision.
We usually do.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Last call. Going once, going twice. All right, thank you so much, folks. Really do appreciate your input. As I noted, you do have the opportunity to provide written comments. The information can be found on our town website. You're free to attend, certainly the town council meeting, to hear the deliberations and to be present for that, okay? And as I noted, it's a multi-step process, there's no doubt, because it's an important decision, not just for yourselves, but for the town as a whole. We have to consider what's best for the town as a whole, but certainly the views of the residents are first and foremost in our minds always, okay?
Now, okay, sorry. But you have to have this written in by the 30th of the month,
June 27th,
June the 27th.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, just so your comments here are recorded,
They are all recorded,
and they
okay?
are, and they will be considered.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my wife is away right at the moment, and she won't be back till the 2nd of July. And I'm sure Nancy has a lot of comments to make.
Does she have
About
access
this.
to email? Does
Does
use
she have
email?
I don't think so, not where she's at.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong, sir, if you can gather up some of her thoughts and reduce them to writing and submit them on her behalf.
That'd be good, me writing it. But anyway, she would have a lot to say in this whole process too. And it's not in a good way for these gentlemen.
Sure, but we also have to be fair to the applicants, and we can't just delay things indefinitely. So the deadline is the deadline, and we do have to respect that.
Okay,
Okay.
don't forget your citizens.
Never will, nope. Okay, well, thank you, folks. I'll consider this meeting to be adjourned. I'll just remember the deadline. We will certainly look forward to your comments, but just so everyone understands, your comments here tonight are recorded and will be considered.
And that's by the 27th.
That's